Well, good morning. It is Monday, June 5th. Can you believe we're in the sixth month of the year already? Well, today, the Bible cap, the ball cap Bible study. That's funny. I said Bible cap. Uh, Look at what this says. It says, normal ain't coming back. Jesus is. Somebody gave me this hat. They said it had you written all over it. So that's what we're going with today. Just two verses today we're going to look at in the Sermon on the Mount, chapter 7, the last chapter of the Sermon on the Mount. And they are powerful and deep at the same time. And they reach into the Old Testament. They reach in deeper into the New Testament. And they kind of talk about some things that life is all about. You know, often we're human. Everybody does this. They sit and they think, man, everything didn't turn out the way I planned it. You know, I thought after all these years I would be somebody else, or have a different career path. I never saw myself here. But guess what? For the most part, we're a result of all the decisions we've made over the years. Think about that. And and today in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus talks about your choices. That you know there are two ways to go. There's just two verses here. We'll look at some other verses in the Bible, but here on Sermon on the Mount, you've heard this before. And this comes out of a really a special Bible that's all beat up. But you can see it's a place where what we're going to look at, I underlined years ago. I've had this Bible for 40 years. I want to read you the inside little cover thing where it says what it's for. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that, but that's what it says right there. Okay, it says this Bible was presented to Wade Cruz on the 12th day of September 1982 at Pleasant Valley Baptist Church, Groton, Connecticut, by Chris Hayes, a brother in Christ. Well, he was an officer in the Navy. I was in the Navy up in Connecticut, stationed at the submarine base. We went to church together, and the pastor at that church in Connecticut was a graduate of OBU. His name was Jim Schneider. And it said, on the occasion of departure from nuclear power school, Chris was a nuclear officer, a nuclear engineer officer. I believe he went to Michigan and got his nuclear engineering degree. So that's one guy I want to look up. I need to do some research, see where he is, and let him know I made a couple of good choices. So anyway, maybe catch up. You know how it goes when you get this age. Okay. Choices. Man, what is your decision matrix? How do you make choices? Do we always pray over the really big things, the important things, the heart surgeries, the cancers, that, but where's God in the little stuff? Do we say the same kind of prayer before we buy a pair of shoes, before we go on vacation, that kind of thing? So here we go. Again, these verses. Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction. Do you hear that? There's a narrow gate and a wide gate. There's a narrow path and a wide path. And the wide path leads to destruction. And Jesus says, don't make that choice. Don't go that way. And many are those who enter in it. Many go the wide path to destruction. Many. I want you to see this contrast, because we get all upset and frustrated, but for some reason, it's so hard for people to put their faith in the Lord. For the gate is small and the way is narrow that leads to life. Well, ultimately, where is life found? Who is life? Who declared himself to be life? And few are those who find it. So the path to destruction is wide, and many there are that go down that path to destruction, that wide gate. The narrow gate, the narrow way, the narrow path. You've heard stay on the straight and narrow. That's where that comes from. It's not wide, it's narrow, and few there are that go by it. What we have to understand is, don't be shocked because there's so much yuckiness in the world, because many is more than few. You are one of the few. The old Marines, had the thing in the 80s, the few, the proud, the Marines. Now, it's all through the Bible. You look at that first chapter of Psalms, and it says, don't stand and walk with the wicked and the mockers and all that. But it basically says stay on the path of righteousness. How about the 23rd Psalms? Right before, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, it says, he leadeth me on the path of righteousness for his name's sake. The whole Bible is about choices and what path you're going to be on. The old hymn, what does it say? It says, I'm not going to sing it. Take up thy cross and follow me. Who said that? I heard my master say, wow, wherever he leads, I'll go. Wherever he leads, I go. I'll follow my Christ who loves me so. Wherever he leads, I'll go. The shirt, Final Descent, is about the choice of the path you're going to be on. What is your ultimate and final choice? Which way are you going? Are you ascending, descending? Which way are you going? We've said this before in a video. It takes effort to take the high road. It takes, anybody can go along with the crowd. I was raised with this mentality. Anybody can get in trouble. Anybody can go along with the crowd. It takes, a real, in my case, what I was told, a real man is the guy who figures out how to walk away from it, how to take that other path. On the movie The Chosen, at the beginning, the opening credits is about swimming upstream against the current of everybody else. So what path are you on today? What choice are you making today? Do we realize normal ain't coming back? What about Luke 9:23? If anyone would be my disciple, they have to deny themselves, take up their cross daily, and follow me. 3 things. And it starts with a choice. That wide path that leads to destruction is full of selfishness, not selflessness. There are not people on that path that deny themselves. They're seeking personal glory, satisfaction, gain, all that stuff. And that's that crowd, that peer pressure, that mob mentality. Some of you have heard me say this before, but peer pressure doesn't bother me that much. I mean, there are things I want to do to be, seen as relevant or whatever you want to call it. But when I figured out, and it took me a long time, I'm kind of dense, but when I figured out that all peer pressure is caring more about what man thinks than what God thinks, discussion's over. When you care more about what God thinks than what anybody else thinks, you'll never succumb to peer pressure, ever. And I've seen it. Even senior adults have to deal with peer pressure. It's crazy. The world is crazy. look at all the peer pressure that's going on right now, those social pressures that makes the world crazy, because what we used to know as normal isn't there anymore. So all that's because of social pressures and peer pressures and indoctrinations on universities, all that thing. You know the stuff I'm talking about. What month are we in? So what path is most of the world on? You can see it. You just look around, watch TV, watch the news. You can see the path of destruction right in front of you. My question is, how come we're not trying to put up roadblocks and screaming at them and saying, hey, there's another choice over here and it's better? The old story about the bridge being out, just watching the cars drive by and go off the cliff. That's what we're doing. Instead of being in the road with signal flares saying, slow down, stop, you're going the wrong way. Well, it's pretty powerful because, one, we have to make sure we're on the narrow path, the straight and narrow, that narrow gate that leads to life, that is Jesus. Have we denied ourselves? Do we take up our cross daily? What's your spiritual burden? I know I've talked with you, many of you, and your children, your grandchildren are definitely your spiritual burdens. But what about the world in general? What about the neighbor? All those people in your lives that you come across all the time. So there used to be a Sesame Street song. Who are the people in your neighborhood? The people that you meet when you're walking down the street, the people that you meet each day. Do they know what path you're on? And it's not about dragging them over to that straight and narrow path. It's about them knowing you're not on the wide path. And why? Because if our lives are obvious, people are going to say, why aren't you over here with us? Why aren't you on this? Why aren't you with the cool kids? And we got to be like, no, I am the cool kid. You're the idiots. I mean, we got to say that with grace, but it's clear to us. It's clear and obvious to us. They're obviously blinded by selfish ambition and all sorts of things. So, okay, that's as far as I'm going today. I love you guys. Make sure people know what path you're on. I think that's the key to all this. A lot of times we try to disguise what we don't want to offend the people on the other path. Really? You're worried about offending people who are on their way to destruction? Don't do that. All right. Love you guys. See you later. Bye.